The following is a paid advertisement. The views expressed are the sole responsibility of the advertiser.
Put the power back in your hands. This is Behind the Law with attorney Justin Clark.
Happy weekend to you and welcome to Behind the Law. Great show lined up. We're here live. If you have any questions, we'll leave the phone number on the screen during the entire show. As always, welcome in my beautiful co-host, Makaila Nichols. Makaila, how are you?
Fantastic.
So as we all know, I'm a lawyer. You're not. You're here to answer the questions that the people at home may have. Is that right?
That is.
Wait till what we're going to get into today. So we've talked a lot about personal injury on the show. We've never really talked about workers' compensation, and you never want to be in an accident, but it's better to have a personal injury accident or a workers' compensation accident. Good question, huh?
Yeah.
And then we have a judge coming in, Judge Chiu from Orange County. When I go to his courtroom, I'm nervous. We're going to try to make him nervous right here on this set. How is that?
Sounds fun.
Rajan Joshi will join us as well to talk some criminal defense matters. And Rajan and Judge will be here to talk about courtroom decorum. Let's say you have a case coming up. How should you dress? How should you act? Great show. Here's what we're going to do. Quick break. When we return, workers' compensation versus personal injury, which is better? Having debt can leave you feeling helpless. I'm attorney Justin Clark. Filing for bankruptcy may give you the power to lower or even eliminate the payments that have you living paycheck to paycheck. Call me now for a free consultation or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your life.
Managing your investment property is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Sign up at GoRent123.com. 2. Let Greater Orlando Realty handle everything for you when it comes to managing your property. From qualifying tenants to collecting rent, processing maintenance requests, and everything in between. 3. Sit back, relax, and count all that money you're making. Earning passive income on your property is as easy as 1, 2, 3 with Greater Orlando Realty. Visit GoRent123.com today.
Welcome back. You've seen the signs on the interstate. I got $1 million, whatever. Those are personal injury cases. There's also the times where you get injured at work, or even more concerning, maybe you get injured while you're driving for work. What is the difference between personal injury and workers' compensation? It's a question a lot of us do not know. David Sackman is a man that does know. David, welcome to the show. How are you?
I am well, thank you. Nice to be here.
Let's get right to, first of all, Dallas is your friend. He says you're super funny. So by all means, let the personality fly. We're good with it.
All right.
Personal injury versus workers' compensation, what is the difference?
A couple of significant differences. First of all, when we're dealing with workers' compensation, we're dealing with Chapter 440 of the Florida statutes. Any particular law, any particular rule with regard to Florida workers' compensation is going to have a 440 before it. So the difference there is that workers' compensation is supposed to be a self-executing system. So the question is, were you in the course and scope of your employment? Were you injured? That's it. It's workers' compensation. As I said, it's supposed to be a self-executing system, which means that the employers who have 4 employees or more working for them have to have workers' compensation coverage. One of the major differences between workers' compensation and personal injury is that in personal injury, you get to choose your doctor. In workers' compensation, you do not. It is strictly and solely up to the insurance carrier as to which doctors you go to. A lot of people don't know, but workers' compensation is not a state system. It is not some kind of state compensatory system. It is private insurance that business owners must carry, like you would have auto insurance or health insurance or something like that.
And there can be punishments, I believe, for an employer who does not carry workers' compensation.
That is correct. You'd have to get in touch with the state and let them know that they're not properly insured. It also it makes it difficult for the employer when they don't have workers' compensation, and they should, because then they are personally liable for it.
When you talk about damages, when you look at personal injury versus workers' compensation, is one better for an injured person than the other?
It depends on how you look at it. Okay. So the major difference between workers' compensation and personal injury is that in personal injury, you have pain and suffering and loss of enjoyment of life. Okay, those are sometimes the intangibles that we can't necessarily agree to when it comes to the plaintiff and the defense being the insurance company. That's why we have juries. Many times juries decide, you know, your personal injury in terms of your damages pain and suffering, loss of enjoyment of life. In workers' compensation, there is none.
None.
There is none. There's no pain and suffering. There's no loss of enjoyment of life. The way that you would value a claim is, what is the injury? How much is it going to cost to fix you? And how much work have you missed? And you put those two together, and that's the value of your claim.
And a lot of times we see people who might drive for a living. They drive as part of their job. Is there ever a time where you could have a personal injury and a workers' compensation claim at the same time?
Absolutely. It's one of the things I do on a regular basis, is that you'll be in the course and scope of your employment on the roads here in Central Florida, and then you'll have somebody that is actually negligent in operating their motor vehicle, and you will have a workers' compensation case along with a personal injury case. We do what's called bifurcate the claim, which means we handle the personal injury on one side and the workers' compensation on the other. And then ultimately what happens is the workers' compensation insurance carrier has a right of subrogation. If they lay out any kind of money or compensation, they are entitled to a lien.
Let's say I'm an employer, though, and my employee is doing something dumb at work. They're messing around with each other, and one of them falls and gets hurt. That's not my problem. It's not my liability, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is your liability. It's the same reason why we have warnings when you buy a new chainsaw. Do not grab the blade while it's moving. We have those. So it's
thank
pretty.
Goodness.
Yes, thank goodness we do. But it's similar in that sense, in that, again, were you in the course and scope of your employment? Were you injured? It's workers' compensation.
Yeah, I mean, if you are injured at work, it doesn't matter if it's your fault. It doesn't matter if you were negligent yourself. Your employer is going to have to pay. But on the backside of that, you're not going to get these damages like you see in an automobile accident. We're here live right now. If you have any questions whatsoever, it's 321-282-1055. What about these independent contractors, David? So we see people all the time who do Amazon on the side or whatever it is. A lot of independent contractors out there. How does workers' compensation work with the independent contractor?
It's a great question. Independent contractors the short answer is they are not covered under workers' compensation. There is, within the Chapter 440, within the statute, there are basically a checklist of whether or not you are truly an independent contractor. Some people work under the auspices of, well, I'm an independent contractor, but then when it comes to workers' compensation, we start checking those boxes. We find out, well, no, they technically don't, from a statutory standpoint, pursuant to workers' compensation, qualify as an independent contractor. So
I found it fascinating at the beginning you said that in a workers' compensation case, the employer essentially, or ultimately the insurance carrier, I imagine generally, chooses the doctor for you. Is it safe to say maybe some of these doctors are a little bit on the carrier side and not necessarily on the employee side?
I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
No, seriously.
No
it's
comment?
One of the, exactly. It's one of the things that I think is probably a point of contention when it comes to claimant, which would, in the workers' compensation world, it's not a plaintiff, it's a claimant. Claimants attorneys like myself get, a little bit irritated with, because you're exactly correct. Yeah. The insurance company picks the doctor. You only get one change of doctor per specialty. I should say you have to choose your specialty, which way you're going to change. Right. So it becomes a little difficult. If a doctor is not interested in treating your client, you're behind the eight ball in terms of trying to get them the help that they need.
Yeah, and make no mistake, you handle personal injury claims as well, but you also do workers' compensation. So let's just think you just do workers' comp, because some people do specialize in workers' compensation only. You do handle both, but handling both, you get to experience both courtrooms. The courtrooms are different for a personal injury case versus a workers' compensation case.
Very much so. Great point. In most of the personal injury cases that I've dealt with, and the cases that I've gone to trial with, you are in circuit civil court, which means there's an amount jurisdiction. When it comes to workers' compensation, you're dealing with judges of compensation claims. They are administrative judges. They are not Article III judges. They have a difficult job. They're appointed by the governor. Most of them do a great job. But again, it's administrative law rather than it being a circuit civil situation, which is considerably different. In addition to that, all of your trials in workers' compensation are bench trials. There is no such thing as a jury trial in workers' compensation.
Wow. And do you find one court goes faster than the other? Because you hear horror stories about, oh, it took me 5 years to get to trial.
That's very true. In the personal injury world, in the circuit cil world, well, now things are speeding up. The judge will tell you things are speeding up quite a bit. They're not giving continuances. They want to get their docket taken care of. In the workers' compensation world, there are statutory days with which you have to comply. So, for example, within 120 days, there needs to be a mediation on the issues of whatever the petition for benefits that you have filed.
Yeah, awesome. David Sackman, workers' compensation, personal injury. Keep up the good work. I'm sure you and Dallas will have a little lunch after this or something. Huh?
We will, and it's on him.
Absolutely.
It's on him.
David, great job. Nice to see you today.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
We're going to take a quick break. When we return, Judge Vincent Chu joins us along with Rajan Joshi. We're going to talk courtroom decorum. How do you dress if you have to go to court? How do you act? And if you're charged with a crime, what do you do? It is just ahead as Behind the Law continues. Does student loan debt have you spinning out of control? You are not helpless. At attorneys Justin Clark and Associates, our goal is to lower or even eliminate your monthly payments. Call me today or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your financial life. It's been a really weird time for landlords over the last couple of years. Tenants have been a little bit angry. I think if you're a landlord, you need a property manager. The best one I know is Greg Mann. He happens to be here with me today. Greg, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
So let's say I'm a landlord and I'm trying to make the decision. Do I want to handle this myself or hire someone like you who is a property manager who does it all? What goes into that decision? Why hire a property manager?
Well, it's quite simple. It's one of your biggest assets. And let me ask you a question. If you want heart surgery, do you employ a brain surgeon?
Yeah, no.
So
Absolutely
employ a property manager. It's very difficult. It's complicated. It can be complex. You can be sued. You can leave yourself wide open for many, many things. We know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it.
What do you do for me as my property manager?
Well, I'll make sure your property's rented, maintained, kept clean, and re-rented, and make sure you get your money.
And then monthly, some things can come up. Maybe something goes wrong. You're right here to solve all those problems between you and the tenant, or between you and anything that happens.
Yeah, we're your cushion. So, problem at the house, tenant calls us, they don't call you. You're on vacation, enjoying yourself, we fix whatever problem it is.
How do your relationships with your vendors work, and how does that help me as my property manager?
We have every vendor is licensed and insured. Every vendor has a 30-day pay cycle, so I don't need money up front from you. And they work very, very closely with us. We've used them for years.
Yeah. If you are a landlord, you have rental properties, do yourself a favor. Call Greg Mann right now. Do not do this on your own. Welcome back. Rajan Joshi's here. Rajan, how are you, sir?
Good, thank you.
We're going to talk criminal law, of course, in a moment, but you brought a good friend with you today.
Yes, this is Judge Vincent Chu. Excellent judge in Orange County. Was appointed by the governor. I knew him as a U.S. prosecutor. He was very fair, tough. But someone who really knows the law. He's also got former prosecutor experience in state court, and just an excellent judge, very well liked, very well respected, and really runs an efficient courtroom.
Orange County Circuit Court, of course, Judge. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
Rajan's exactly right, and the lawyers in my firm always will say how fair you are, and that what else can you ask for in a judge other than being fair? But you're running for re-election right now. What's going on? How can we help?
Well, I think really it's about getting the word out.
Yeah.
I think the lawyers generally have a pretty good idea who the good judges are.
No question.
But it's I think the biggest thing is getting that word out to to the folks out there who don't. Who aren't living in that universe, and frankly, who probably look at a ballot and don't necessarily know what what to do or who to pick in these things.
Well, let's talk about courtroom decorum a little bit with both of you. You have clients that you go to court with all the time, Rajan, of course, and Judge, you see people in front of you all the time. What do you tell your clients, and what really resonates with you, Judge, when you see people show up?
Well, with me, I tell my clients, dress as as professionally as they can, be on their best behavior.
Yeah.
This is a time, I deal with a lot of criminal clients, and no matter what, you're going into a courtroom, and that's a place of sanctity, and you're in front of a judge, somebody who earned that position, and it's very important to show respect, not only for the clients, but for myself as well. I don't address the judge as judge, I address them as Your Honor. I show that respect. They're there for a reason, and they deserve that respect from the attorneys, from the participants, from the litigants, from the witnesses.
And there have been times where you've been disappointed in a ruling that you've gotten in front of a judge, and you're not gonna act like you're all freaked out and mad. Of course, you don't do that. Is that not right?
That is exactly correct. When a judge rules against you, you got to accept it and just move on. There's other remedies you can do. But you do not ever argue with the judge after they've made their ruling. You respect them, and you do what's best for your client, and also keeping the decorum in the courtroom.
Yeah, exactly. Judge, you must have seen people freak out in court. What are some of the things you've seen?
Well, I mean, and to Rajan's point, it's not necessarily just about showing sort of deference to the judge. It's more deference to the process, to the how solemn that moment is. I mean, the stuff I've seen is
story time.
Well, I was in family for a couple of years.
Oh wow!
I remember seeing one person, and she came to her divorce proceeding by Zoom, and really, because so much happened over Zoom, all bets are off. Yeah. She was wearing what I would guess that she thought was her most flattering piece of lingerie.
Oh yeah, right.
To do the divorce proceeding. But I mean, you see people, they lose their cool, but I at the same time, at least for me, I get it. When you're talking about the things that are most important to people,
sure.
I get it. When your child custody hearing doesn't go your way, when a jury verdict isn't what you hoped it would be, or so I mean, I would say, generally speaking, I would tell people, number one, first thing I would always say is listen to your lawyers. You pay them good money, so you should listen to them.
Right.
But number two, you put your best foot forward, but at the same time, I always tell people that you want to be yourself. And I always do believe that sort of authenticity within the bounds of sort of accepted norms of behavior is going to win the day more often than it doesn't.
Yeah, and when it comes to lawyering, Raj, what I've seen about you and your firm and the lawyers that work there, it's preparation. And you go to court prepared. You're not scurrying around right before the hearing trying to figure out your case, which unfortunately some lawyers do, and I think that can make all the difference, especially in a criminal matter. When your client is facing jail time or prison time, I think that you owe it to them as a lawyer to be prepared, and that's something I know you do.
Thank you. Preparation is the most important thing. When a lawyer goes into court prepared, they make the judge's job easier.
Sure.
You have the research done, you have the arguments ready, and you can present your side to the judge, and he can make a fair and just ruling based on how much you prepare. And you've got a person's life or freedom on the line, and it is imperative for a lawyer to go in there, be prepared, put in the extra hours, the late nights, whatever it takes to make sure you put the best presentation on in front of the judge when you go in front of him and for your client.
And not just criminal law, civil law, of course, as well, but the reason why we send you our criminal cases is because I've seen the prep that goes into it, and a lot of it, the care that goes into your cases. And if you've been charged with a crime, you have to call Rajan, please. You do not want to go through this battle alone. You don't want to do it. We have life, liberty on the line for you. That's why Rajan is standing by right now at 321-282-1055. Now, Judge, when you're on the bench, you must recognize some lawyers are more prepared than others.
Well, yes, and that's that's sort of the nature of the game. And I will say that I think in the practice of law, preparation trumps talent every day.
Yeah.
All day, every day. I think the the annals of history are probably littered with talented but mediocre lawyers. I know very few well-prepared lawyers who have not done well for themselves.
Right. How difficult, I've always been fascinated by this when it comes to judges, and you're on the circuit bench, which is it's a powerful position, but you must be making very difficult decisions every single day. How quickly do you find yourself making that decision, and how difficult is that?
It's difficult in the sense of you feel the weight of people's hopes, in those decisions. At the same time, I think most good judges aren't making those decisions on, from the hip. You might only see the 15 minutes of argument, but for me, I've prepped for some significant amount of time before that hearing. I've got some idea going in what the issues are, what the questions I have to ask, and what I need answered to make that ruling. So I mean, in that sense, is that we're not just going in and hearing what everybody has to say and then being like, you win,
right?
And so it's hard, but it's again, it's the same as lawyers. It's just a matter of the amount of preparation you put into it.
Got it. And for both of you, we've been through a pandemic the last a little more than a couple of years now. How has the pandemic affected the court system for you, Rajan?
It slowed it down, quite a bit, but it's picking up right now, and it's the courts are moving very efficiently. The judges are doing a great job at getting the cases moved. I've had several trials since the courts have opened up, and it's nice to be back in the courtroom. It's nice to be back, in there fighting and stuff. And one thing I can go just saying about following up from Judge Chu is, I think one of the most important things a lawyer needs to know going into the courtroom is know the judge. Sure. It is so important when you go in, because different judges have different procedures, different rules, and some you may have to take and walk by the hand through each and every stage. Other judges want you to get to the point, keep it short, and you got to know that. You can't go into one courtroom, expecting, the same type of strategy to work with another judge. So knowing the judge is probably one of the most important things as a lawyer.
What are you seeing, Judge?
Well, I mean, I think necessity is the mother of innovation, and what we've seen is that when we had to transfer over to doing remote hearings, we've unlocked sort of this ability to do so much more. So now a lot of our hearings we do remotely, even as the pandemic gets into different phases, and probably beyond after that's done, because it increases access to justice for people. Zoom hearings mean you don't have to find childcare for your kids. You don't have to find a transportation to the courtroom, to the courthouse. So I mean, I think in that sense, it's really lowered, I think, the walls of the courthouse for people.
So you see it continuing as we go forward, Zoom?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what do you think, Rajan? Is it different in criminal law versus civil law?
No, it's very efficient.
Okay.
It's very efficient, whereas now I can take a deposition of someone in another state instead of flying over there.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like taking a little vacation, but
well, Friday or Monday depots are the best.
Exactly. And also I can show up in multiple courtrooms, by noon, and appear before other judges. Before it was stressful. I got to be in this county, that county. So it's so much more efficient.
Got it. Rajan Joshi, keep up the good work,
Thank
buddy.
you.
We know how to find you. And if you've been charged with a crime, you know what to do. And do it right now. 321-282-1055. Judge Chu, great to have you here. Now let's say we want to, in this camera right here, we want to help. How do we help? Is there a website, Facebook? Where do we go?
Sure, you can go to my website, www.keepjudgechu.com. And the biggest way to help is to come out on or before August 23rd and vote.
That's right. We support Judge Chu as well. Here's what we will do. Last break. When we return, it's What Did We Learn? Makaila and I are here at Hontoon Landing Resort and Marina, the best kept secret in all of Central Florida. Would you not agree?
Oh, it is.
Chris is here, the general manager. This is Old Florida here. This is a secret. This place is beautiful. Great rooms, great suites. If you want to spend the weekend, spend a week here. But also a lot of great things to do here during the week, Chris. What all do you offer?
So we have river tours. We have pontoon boat rentals, brand new pontoons. We have, you stay in the
Beautiful
rooms.
place. What about the river tour? I mean, we have manatees literally right outside the boat here. You do river tours, right?
Yeah, we do 2 of those, 10 and 1.
Yeah.
Wednesday through Sunday, and it's a tour all the way around Hontoon Island, go by Blue Springs.
This is old Florida at its finest. Door to door for me, from my house, 45 minutes. I think downtown Orlando, an hour.
Yes.
Yet you feel like you're in a totally different world. How do you describe this setting?
A place like no other. This is so unique, and there's not very many places like this anymore.
You totally upgraded the rooms and suites. They're beautiful, stunning, in fact, very comfortable. How do you describe the rooms and suites here?
They've gotten a lot of love in the last year, and it's wonderful. And we're continuing to make that investment in Hontoon to continue to keep it as a place like no other.
And you can rent this boat here. The boats are brand new, but think about the rooms and suites too. They're all so unique. This is not a cookie cutter type place to stay.
No, it was designed as a fish camp, and it, all the rooms are very unique. So it's not like a big hotel where you have a bunch of these cookie cutter rooms. Yeah, they're all unique.
The Dockside Deli is awesome. We're building a tiki bar. We have beer. This place is unbelievable. I'm so impressed with what you have done. Chris, congratulations on what you guys are doing here and continue to do. And I've got to tell you, if you have not been out to this area, you're making a mistake. Hontoon Landing Resort and Marina, 45 minutes from my house, not more than an hour from yours. Come out and check it out.
Managing your investment property is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Sign up at GoRent123.com. 2. Let Greater Orlando Realty handle everything for you when it comes to managing your property, from qualifying tenants to collecting rent, processing maintenance requests, and everything in between. 3. Sit back, relax, and count all that money you're making. Earning passive income on your property is as easy as 1, 2, 3 with Greater Orlando Realty. Visit GoRent123.com today.
Wrapping up Behind the Law here with What Did We Learn? Makaila, I know this is going to be fashion-centric right now. Okay.
So don't wear your lingerie if you're going to Zoom.
I thought we learned that at birth, or we knew that right out of the womb.
I think some people need to hear that.
Absolutely. Courtroom decorum is very, very important. If you're in court and you don't like the decision, don't freak out. I also learned that Judge Chiu, but I knew this before, is the man for us when it comes to Orange County Circuit Judge. Rajan Joshi never ceases to amaze me. Not only his suits, but his ability to defend the people of Central Florida. I love Rajan Joshi. If you've been charged with a crime, you need to call him. I learned that we love you too. Everybody loves you. Thank you for being here. As always, great job. Most importantly, thank you for joining us this weekend. We'll see you again next Saturday for Behind the Law. Here with Rajan Joshi. He is the founder of the Joshi Law Firm, our go-to for all things criminal defense, the place that literally we refer our criminal cases to. What I love about your firm is there is no case too small, but more importantly, maybe no case too large for you.
Yeah, thank you, first off, for having us. Yeah, our firm is equipped to hire any type of criminal defense case, whether it's federal, state, murder, racketeering, a DUI, or simple petty theft. We have the infrastructure and the manpower to handle it.
Free consults, which is always a great thing if someone's charged with a crime, but also maybe you should call before you are even charged. If the cops are calling you, should you talk?
Absolutely not speak to the police officers. The most important thing is if you're suspecting the crime, is call an attorney. A lot of times we can quash it and avoid people from going through the hardship of an arrest and criminal charges.
Keep up the great work. If you are charged with a crime or the police are calling you, do yourself a favor, call the Joshi Law Firm today. One of the most important decisions you're ever going to make. Having debt can leave you feeling helpless. I'm attorney Justin Clark. Filing for bankruptcy may give you the power to lower or even eliminate the payments that have you living paycheck to paycheck. Call me now for a free consultation or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your life.
Free yourself of the stress of investment property management. Visit GoRent123.com today.
The proceeding was a paid advertisement. The views expressed were the sole responsibility of the advertiser.